blank game week 26, my first transfer plans. In today's video, we're going to have a look at the blank game week. Of course, no fixture for Liverpool, no fixture for Chelsea, Spurs or Luton going into game week 26. So some of us, including myself, are looking at a team without a full 11 of players to put out this week. So today I'm going to talk you through those potential transfers, how I can get to a full 11 of players, whether I might take a -4 this week. And I'm also going to update you on my chip strategy after a few things have changed my thinking going into game week 26, what I'm going to do in game week 29 and into the end of the season as well. Welcome back everyone, FPL Harry here. Before we dive in, 1,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here as well. I am recording just into the second half of the Luton Manchester United game. And yes, you can all laugh at me once again. I took a -8 last week to bring in double Luton defence. It's not going particularly well. They conceded twice very early on. They're quite entertaining to watch though. I have to say, watching Doughty so far has been quite entertaining. Now the game week isn't finished. Of course, it is a double game week, so things can still change. But game week 25, the double, has been an all types of chaos. We've had Darwin in my team. He's picked up an injury. We've had Jota in my team. He's picked up an injury. I went into the week with Trent. Of course, he's unlikely to feature. Well, definitely not going to feature. There have been injuries. The triple captaincy is active on Erling Haaland as well. So not been great, but I am on a small green arrow at the moment. But with all the double game week players to play, there is still the lot that can happen. So we're going to just focus on game week 26. It is, of course, the blank week. No fixture for Liverpool or Luton. No fixture for Chelsea or Spurs. I currently have a 9-man team going into this week. So Areola, Charlie Taylor was back on the bench for Burnley in game week 25. Trippier, Gabriel, Gordon, Foden, Saka, Haaland and Watkins. 4 players playing against each other in the Arsenal versus Newcastle game in game week 26, which is not ideal, but I don't hate it. I have 9 players and I have 2 free transfers. Now, looking at the players who don't have a fixture this week, the one missing is Alfie Doughty of Luton, but he does have a double game week coming up in game week 28. So for me to sell him after I've just bought him ahead of the couple of doubles wouldn't make any sense. He's the one that's missing here. So 2 free transfers. I will be selling at least 2 of those players who don't have a fixture. However, with the amount of flags that we've got, so Darwin, Jota and Trent all flagged going into game week 26. Now, they don't have a fixture anyway, but particularly Trent and Jota, we don't know how long they're going to be out for. So they are looking like priority sells, but there are also some forwards that I do want in my team as well. So all 3 of those Liverpool assets are on the chopping block. In theory, it could be Palmer, but I do think he's a really nice value option that I would probably prefer to sell Jota over him going into this week. Now, looking at the chip strategy is important before deciding who I'm going to buy this week because of game week 29. Game week 29 is the biggest blank of the season, and currently we only have 3 fixtures confirmed for that week and only a handful of teams playing game week 26 and playing game week 29. So originally my plan was to wildcard just after that blank in game week 29 in game week 30 or game week 31. The reason game week 31 is slightly preferred over game week 30 is just the fixtures. Manchester City play against Arsenal in game week 30, so you could sell them for the blank in game week 29 where they're both predicted not to have a fixture. Then you don't need them in game week 30 either because they play against each other, whereas some of the players like Spurs have Luton at home. And then you can wildcard in game week 31. You'd free hit in game week 34, which is one of the double game weeks, and then bench boost in the biggest double game week predicted at the end of the season in game week 37. Of course, reminder that the double teams in game week 34 are different to the double teams in game week 37 because of the way that the FA Cup fixtures do fall this season. However, I have had a slight change of heart from the chip strategy number 2 towards the chip strategy number 1. I've mentioned free hit 29 a few times in some of my videos. Now, it's worth reminding or going through why free hit 29 is beneficial. A lot of you will straight away be thinking, but if I can get, 8-9 players out in game week 29, then it's worth just not free hitting that week and just going through. Now, although this might be the case, the benefit to free hit 29, there are 2 reasons for it. Of course, I can get the full 11 of players out in game week 29 without any hits, so I don't need to be taking -4s, -8s over the next few weeks, which is what I would have to do if I wanted to not free hit in game week 29. I can also get the perfect 11 out, or the optimal team on paper, in game week 29 rather than having to field like a Charlie Taylor example as some of these other players who I don't necessarily want but would have to buy going into game week 29. And the other thing is just the benefit around game week 29. If you're free hitting in game week 29, you can forget about it. I don't need to buy an Aston Villa player this week. I don't need to be thinking about buying a West Ham player as well at the moment, given that their form is pretty awful at the moment. I then also don't have to think about wildcarding and being forced into playing a wildcard straight after that blank game week in game week 30 or 31. I would then dead end my team into the double in game week 34. Use my transfers to bring in a few players who double that week. Then wildcard after in game week 35. Bench boost game week 37. Now, the pros and cons of this is you wildcard very soon and very close to your bench boost. So you know the teams that are likely dead for the end of the season have finished their season. They've got nothing to play for. You can wildcard into teams that do have something to play for. The only negative is that you are wildcarding pretty close to the end of the season, so it might limit how much you can potentially maximize the routes you can go down, how long it takes you to get the value out of your wildcard. But I do think over the past couple of days, I have swung from probably 60% option 2 to maybe 70% going for option 1. Now, this is all, of course, not 100% nailed until we see the FA Cup results that take place between game week 26 and game week 27, because they will guarantee the blanks in game week 29 and give us an updated picture for the likes of game week 34 and game week 37. So I'm not 100% confirming my chip strategy at the moment, but I do think that the free hit 29 just suits me better. I just don't see the value so much at the moment in the free hit 34 with the way the fixtures are being projected at the moment. So with that in mind, I don't have to be thinking about buying players who have a fixture in game week 29. I can be thinking about buying players that I just want and that I think are good options. So to start up front, Darwin Núñez, the two options that I would really look at, given that I think I want to free hit in game week 29 and I don't need a fixture that week, is Rasmus Højlund of Manchester United has just bagged 2 more goals against Luton Town and looks very on fire at the moment. The other one is Dominic Solanke, of course, has a harder fixture this week at home to Manchester City, but does have the double in game week 28. There are a few other options I did consider, like Ivan Toney, but he does lose value if I don't need him in game week 29 when I could just play my free hit and go and buy him into my team that week. Højlund has the better fixture this week, but then Manchester City away next week, whereas Solanke has the Manchester City fixture this week, but an easier fixture from game week 27 onwards, and then has the double, of course, going into game week 29 as well. Darwin is likely to be back going into game week 27. He is a doubt for the second half of the double, but currently is not being ruled out so far, and he's definitely not ruled out of the Carabao Cup final, and so could be back for game week 27. So in theory, out of all my Liverpool players, selling Darwin is the least beneficial because Darwin might be back, but it definitely has the most appealing options. Højlund and Solanke both looking very, very good at the moment. Now moving into midfield, Diogo Jota does look like he is going to be out for a while. So selling him does feel like one of the moves I will definitely do this week. And again, originally I looked at buying either Douglas Luiz, Bowen or Kudus. West Ham and Aston Villa, those two of those 3 teams who have a fixture guaranteed in game week 29, of course playing in game week 26 as well. But if I plan on free hitting in game week 29 now, I do have the ability to go for some slightly more luxury options in my midfield this week. The first one is Hwang Hee-chan on penalties for Wolves. Sheffield United at home this week. The only slight concern is without Cunha at Wolves, what's their attack exactly going to look like? But they have some really, really nice fixtures coming up all the way until about game week 34, which is roughly when I'd be looking to play my wildcard anyway. He's a great value pick, and with me looking to potentially get Mo Salah back in, keeping Erling Haaland, Son, someone like that as well, I do really like what Hwang could offer as a 5.5 million option, and Sheffield United at home this week who continue to look really poor defensively. Now, if I don't go with Højlund up front, I could go with Garnacho in my midfield. 5 million for him, Fulham at home this week. Again, Man City away in game week 27, but I could bench him. Both of these teams not predicted to play in game week 29, which is why, with a slight change in predicted chip strategy, it does make both Hwang and Garnacho look much more appealing. I do think with the way Manchester United are attacking, their defence looks a little bit weak in places, but the fixtures are really nice. I do feel like having one of their attackers in either Garnacho or Højlund does feel like a good option at the moment. And then finally in defence with Trent, we don't know exactly when he's going to be back. Chances are he may be back for game week 27, 28, but we don't actually know. He's re-aggravated his knee. That's the only update we've got in the moment. So looking at replacements for him, I could go to Manchester United and it would be Diego Dalot. He's very attacking. He looks very nailed. Luke Shaw is in and out of the team, playing some minutes, not playing others. Dalot feels very nailed either at right back or at left back. Is Shaw is injured. Fulham at home this week. Game week 27, I could bench him with the defenders I've got and a nice run of fixtures going forward. Or I could just go and add the double up on Arsenal. Now, the issue is they play Newcastle at home this week. So in theory, buying this week would be better to buy Diego Dalot. But Saliba is an option that I do really like. Double upping Arsenal defence. Plus, I've got Bukayo Saka in my midfield as well. And that would give me triple up on Arsenal going forward. Again, predicted to blank in game week 29. But if I play my free hit that week, I don't need to worry about that. So Dalot feels slightly more explosive. But that Arsenal defence at the moment, the way that Gabriel, who I already own, is scoring goals, Saliba also looking really good. Now, I did consider Ben White, but the issue with that is he did get taken off after 65 minutes. There is a little bit more of rotation threat in that right back spot over Saliba and Gabriel, who I would probably favour. Again, before I decided on, well, thinking that I'm going to go with that free hit in game week 29, I was looking at a potential Aston Villa defender like Alex Moreno, but he's now got a risk of Luka Dean coming back. I could go with Pau Torres, but without Kamara in their midfield, with some of the injuries they've got in defence, it does concern me there. I could go to a Reguilon, but they're not defending amazingly. He does have some good attacking threat, so he's probably still one of my favourite defenders if you are looking for game week 26 and game week 29, but just feel like that free hit 29 allows me to do a lot more in the short term. Dalot, maybe not as good for clean sheets, but the attacking threat is really good, or just triple up on Arsenal and go with Saliba. So just to sort of recap, cover that all off. At the moment, I have 9 players available for this week, but Charlie Taylor, we don't even know if he's going to start, whether he's going to get his place back. So 8, I feel like I'm happy with, plus 9 with Charlie Taylor, 2 free transfers and virtually no money in the bank, but likely to sell some expensive players in my triple Liverpool. So I will be freeing up a little bit of money. Also, go and watch back if you've just skipped to this part of the video, the bit on I've slightly changed my chip strategy, where I'm likely to free hit in game week 29 because I feel like it benefits my team in around the other weeks rather than just focusing on getting a team out in game week 29, which I think would suffer my team in the weeks around it, not massively benefit my chip strategy. So right now, I actually think I'm planning on taking a -4 this week, which would be Darwin, Jota and Trent all out, selling my triple Liverpool for their blank. They also have Manchester City in a couple of weeks anyway, plus Jota and Trent I don't expect to be back in the team anytime soon. Now, looking at those replacements, I do think that Jota down to Garnacho is the sensible thing to do. I need to free up money to go and buy Salah back into my team if I'm not going to be wildcarding that soon. If I'm going to delay the wildcard to game week 33, 34, probably game week 35, I need a route back to buy Mo Salah. So Jota down to Garnacho helps free up the money. Given that I'm going Garnacho, I don't feel like I need Højlund. So going Darwin to Solanke would be the second transfer. Solanke's got the double coming up. It's not ideal for this week because of the fixture against Man City, but I do like Solanke. He is ticking along so well. I do regret selling him a few weeks ago. So Darwin to Solanke and Jota to Garnacho would be 2 transfers. And because I'm not certain on Charlie Taylor and I don't love him, Trent to either Dalot or Saliba. I haven't fully decided on that one. I do think maybe leaving myself open for double Arsenal attack might be something I want to consider the way they're scoring goals at the moment. So Trent to Dalot is probably the predicted transfer, but given the way that they've defended at times against Luton today, I'm not 100% certain on that. But Darwin and Jota, I'm almost certain that I will sell this week. And if we're not certain if Taylor's going to start, which we probably won't be going into the deadline, I do think taking the money out of Trent anyway is a good idea. Trent down to Diego Dalot would be my third transfer for a -4. So bit of an update. Looking at game week 26, I want to attack it. And I do think that free hit 29 actually benefits my team a little bit more. Otherwise, I'd be taking -4s, -8s over the next few weeks to get to a 9, 10, 11 players out in that week, plus not being able to attack maybe Solanke and some of the Bournemouth players in game week 28 that maybe I'd want to as well. So a little bit of an update for you. I need to fully confirm my chip strategy over this week and have a think about it in even more detail before I confirm these transfers, but I don't need to go rushing those transfers this week. Anyway, that is my first transfer plans. Let me know any questions you have about chip strategy, your moves this week, the blank, the doubles, what you're going to do going forward, and if you're going to free hit this week as well. There will be a free hit video for you if you're planning on playing it this week later on as well. Thank you all so much for watching. 1,000 likes on the videos here and subscribe if you are new around here, and I'll be back again very soon.